So first off, this conflict has been happening. No, it's not a conflict. It's a genocide. Has been happening for over 76 years. Okay, Zionism actually didn't even become a thing until the 1890s, and I'm not gonna go and look at. I want you to do some research, okay? The man who created Zionism to begin with no longer, or had made statements after saying that he was wrong about Zionism. I want to make that clear. Now, not all Jewish people are Zionists. I'm gonna make that clear. Not all Israelis believe in what is happening and what the Israeli government is doing. Again, going to make that clear. Okay? What happened on October 7th was a tragedy. What has continued to happen since October 7th is a tragedy. What has happened prior to October 7th has been a tragedy. No child of any ethnicity, nationality, or race deserved to be put in this situation. Okay? Now, here's the thing. Israel has, the officials, the government officials, have come out and said the most horrific things about Palestinians and anyone speaking up for Palestine. I believe in humanity. I don't like what Israeli's government is doing. I don't like what our government, if you're in the United States, I don't like what our government is doing. And yes, we have a hand in this. But I'm going to make some book suggestions. Majority of these were written and published prior to 2023. So keep that in mind, and this is not all of them. This might actually help you understand the conflict, because I grew up Jewish. I have cousins who did their birthright, right? So the birthright is you claim, you grow up Jewish, right? And you claim to have the right to be in Israel. And I do know quite a few people have moved there prior to 2023, and since. And honestly, I'm disgusted because when they are moving there, they are kicking Palestinians out of their homes and taking it over and saying, oh, this is mine. That is in fact colonization. And yes, genocide has been happening. Genocide isn't just bombing. It's making sure that they have a lack of access to water, to clothing, to food, to education, and so much more. Just because they warn them doesn't make it any less of a genocide. Like, that's ridiculous. Really, it's ridiculous. And yes, Israel has a big hand in the Congolese mining, as do we, as is a bunch of European countries, because they are mining for a certain mineral, which then goes to use like in devices like our phones, our iPads, our computers, and stuff like that, instead of us refurbishing things. So Israel's not alone in that, but they are complicit. They have also used Congolese women and tested on them. So here are just some books I'm going to recommend that you read, because again, this is about the history of, and some of these are of the accounts from Palestinians prior to October 7th. So we have the 100 Years War on Palestine by Noam Chomsky and Ilan Pappé. They both have different books, other books that are on Palestine you're going to see. We have Rivka, The Ethnic Cleansing of Palestine by Ilan Pappé. 10 Myths About Israel, again, by Ilan Pappé. The Punishment of Gaza by Gideon Levy. Again, these are not all by Palestinians. The Trinity of Fundamentals. Justice for Some. The Israel Lobby and the U.S. Foreign Policy, because yes, we do have a huge hand. They Called Me a Lioness. And this is her story about fighting for freedom. Our 1,000-Year History, Palestine. The Revolution of 1936 to 1939 in Palestine. So again, prior to when Israel even became a country. This one I did read and I have a review on. Palestinian-Israeli conflict. So this does talk about more recent, fairly recent. We have Black Power and Palestine. We Belong on the Land. Angela Davis. She's spoken about Palestine, as have Malcolm X, Martin Luther King Jr., and many other prominent Black leaders. The Question of Palestine. The Lemon Tree. This Side of Peace, and again, this is a Palestinians' account prior to October 7th. The Biggest Prison on Earth by Ilan Pappé. Like in Gaza. I believe these are poems. And The Truth About Camp David, which, if you note, has former President Bill Clinton on here. So again, this isn't just a recent thing. This has been happening officially since 1948, when they created Israel, and it was supposed to be a small piece to allow survivors of World War II to come, the Jewish survivors from the Holocaust, to live. But if you look at the history of Zionism, it wasn't about having a holy place. They could have put Israel literally anywhere. They've continued to push more and more on both sides, which is why to the land, from the river to the sea, because you have the river, right, to the sea. They're trying to push forward, and they are trying to ethnically cleanse the Palestinians. This is not about religion, because there are Jewish Palestinians, there are Muslim Palestinians, and there are Christian Palestinians. They don't care. They are literally trying to unalive everyone. And instead of giving them help to have their own food source and water source, and sustainability, because Palestine used to be beautiful prior to genocide, it's been nothing but taking more and more of their liberties. Okay, again, they called it an open prison. It's been known as an open prison for a very long time. This is specifically in Gaza. Now, there's also the West Bank, which is still part of Palestine, but it's completely separate. They've also had issues there. They are unaliving people. The Israeli government and soldiers are unaliving people, including children. So you want to claim, what about the Israeli children? I agree. We should protect them. But what about the Palestinian children? What about the Congolese children who are working in the mines? It's about humanity. Why are we taking their humanity away from them? They're losing more and more human rights every single day. But first, please educate yourself about Palestinian history, okay? And this is no hate to the Jewish community. I've grown up within the Jewish community. My mom is Jewish, and that's not to tokenize. Like, this is how I grew up. That doesn't make you a Zionist. That doesn't make you less human. Because a lot of us are for humanity and are against what is happening in Palestine.